What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be giving you guys a complete rundown of my 2023 bow setup that I'm going to be using here for whitetail hunting this season. I do have a couple out-of-state hunts planned, and then obviously also I will be bow hunting here in Michigan. This is going to be the rig that I'm going to use. Aside from the sight, I may switch between a couple different sites throughout the season. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. And then also, I know you guys are always interested in what type of arrow configuration I'm going to run, so I'll give you guys a quick breakdown of this and let you guys know what I'm running here in 2023. Now, as far as my bow goes, you guys know that I'm a huge fan of Mathews. I've been shooting Mathews for the last 3 years. This is the Mathews Phase 4. Now, one thing that I did do differently this year is I did go with a shorter axle-to-axle bow. I went with their 29-inch. When I was buying the Phase 4, I shot the 33 and the 29 back-to-back, and I landed on the 29 just because I do feel like it fits my draw length a little bit better. My draw length at the moment is set at 27 inches. I am planning on bumping this down to 26 and a half after the season is over. And the reason that I'm doing that is because when I transition between my hinge and my thumb button, there's times when I'm pulling through the shot where I start kind of coming off my jawbone and I start floating my anchor. So I want to avoid that. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to lower the draw length and then up the poundage to 75 to kind of offset the speed. Now, as far as my strings go, I do have a partnership through ABB Strings. I've been running ABB even before the partnership. I run their Platinum series. This is hands down the best bow string that you can put on any type of bow. It's going to increase the performance of your bow, and then also with their Platinum series you get 100% no stretch. So once you get your bow set up and you get it tuned in at the shop, you don't have to go through a break-in period and then go back and retune it once the strings settle. There's absolutely no stretch, and I've ran, like I said, I've ran ABB now for 3 years, and it's definitely a premium bowstring. Now, as far as my rest goes, I am running the QAD. I've ran QAD for 3 years. I like the simplicity of this rest. I run the Mathews Integrate. It just tunes super easy. And then I also like the fact that when you get up into a tree stand, you can just flip it up. And it's always just, it's basically a set it and forget it. You don't have to worry about that thing coming up as you're going through your draw cycle. So I just flip that up, put my arrow in, and I'm ready to go in a hunting situation. Now, as far as my sight, for Kentucky, I ran the Black Gold Dual Track. I've talked about this sight before in the past. I'm a big fan of the double pin vertical sight, and I like the fact that you have the ability to adjust your pin gap on that, whereas with some of the other double pin sights that are available on the market, you don't have that ability. I do like that feature about the Black Gold. It's a super reliable sight. It's very durable. I've never had any issues with it. And then one thing that I've been playing around with this year is setting my top pin at 27 yards, which puts my bottom pin at about 37 yards. And then from there, I can walk that sight from 15 yards all the way out to 40 yards without having to make any adjustment to my slider at all. Obviously, when you start shooting some of those farther distances, you do need to compensate for that by holding a little bit higher on the target. But when you're shooting at 40 yards, you can expect that the animal is going to duck a little bit. So hitting a little bit lower on a target isn't that big of a deal because, like I said, the animal will most likely duck right into the shot. So that's basically what I'm going to be running. Now, I probably will run the dialed Arxos when I get back from my Kentucky hunt, and then there's one other sight that I'm really interested in getting my hands on and testing that out. If I do get my hands on that sight, I will be running that here in the whitetail season at some point once we get that thing all set up. Now, as far as stabilizers go, this is one thing that I have recently been playing around with. Before in the past, I've always went middle of the road as far as price point goes. I've ran the Bee Stinger's micro hex stabilizers, but this year I wanted to get into a higher end bar that was had a higher end modular carbon and was also a micro diameter, so it reduces the overall weight of your stabilizer and allows you to run more weight on your overall setup. So this year I went to the AAE Mountain Series. Huge fan of these bars. I was actually shocked at how it changed the way the bow feels at full draw. I was able to go with a longer front bar and then also add more weight to my back bar. So again, that was really the main goal, was shifting over to a higher end stabilizer. Now, as far as the length on the stabilizers, I'm running a 12-inch front bar, 6-inch back bar. I'm running about 1.5 ounces up front and then about 3.5 ounces on the back, and that seems to hold really well for me. Now, another thing that I'm constantly tinkering around with is if I want to run a straight disconnect or I want to run a 10-degree offset. Now, when I went to the AAE Mountain Series, for me, the 10-degree offset allowed this bow to hold better, and it also made it level out a lot faster when at full draw. And then one thing that I noticed, and I was kind of shocked by this, is I didn't have to run my back bar as far away from the bow. So right now I have my back bar, the up and down, I have it at basically 2 degrees. And then on the pitch out, I have it set at about 2.5. So that's basically where I'm running that setup right now. And I'm really liking how this bow is holding with this new stabilizer setup. Now, as far as what grip I'm running, I've played around with aftermarket grips before, but I just seem to shoot best right off the riser. So what I do is I pull the grip off, I add the Mathews side plates, and then I put a little bit of grip tape on the very back of the riser. Now, as it gets into the late season here in Michigan, grabbing onto this riser in very cold conditions, it's almost like grabbing onto a block of ice because I don't shoot with gloves in the winter. So at some point I will add a little bit of the Bowmar archery grip tape just to add a little bit of insulation to the riser. So if you guys are looking for a way to kind of add insulation and you're looking for a really good grip tape, that's always an outstanding option to pick up. Just get that Bowmar archery grip tape. And then what I also really like about that is you can add it to your handheld release too, just to ensure that thing's not going to slide out of your hand accidentally. Now, as far as my arrow setup, I am running the Easton Axis 5mm. I'm a huge fan of this arrow when it comes to hunting for whitetail. This has performed flawlessly out of every single Mathews that I've ever shot. Now, last year I did cut the arrow a lot shorter than I've ran before in the past, which gave me the ability to drop the spine weight down to a 340. And then I ran 50 grains of brass up front, and I'm running a 100 grain tip. And that's put my total overall arrow weight at about 450, and I'm getting about 14% FOC. Now, as far as my broadhead goes, I am going to be running a Sever again for whitetail. And I've ran the Sever 2.1, the 2.0, the 1.5, but this year with the release of their 1.75, I wanted to get a bigger cut but still maintain maximum penetration. So I'm going to try these broadheads out. I ran the 1.5 last year, got complete pass-through on a doe that I had shot, but the blood trail, it was good, but it wasn't like a blind man's blood trail. So like I said, when I saw they come out with the 1.75, I figured I would give these a shot. I've shot these all the way out to 60 yards, and these things fly true. They fly just like a field point does. So I've always been super happy with the arrow flight that you get with a Sever broadhead. And then one thing that's really unique about this head is that it does come with a locking screw, so you can put that in there, and then when you're practicing, you can actually shoot the broadhead that you're going to hunt with. You don't have to play around with like a practice tip. So I do really like that about the Sever broadhead. So this is going to be the arrow configuration I'm going to run. I'm not going to run a lit nock this year. I tested out the Halo nocks. They're a little bit lighter when compared to the Nocturnals. They definitely fit way better to your string, so you don't have to worry about any type of mini dry fires, but they do add about 21 grains to the back end of your arrow, and if you're not sighted into them, you will experience a different point of impact. So if you are going to run a lit nock, my recommendation is that you sight your bow into that lit nock, and then you'll be good to go. And then you will also most likely need to adjust your D-loop to avoid any type of knock pinch. But like I said, for me this year, I'm not going to run one. I did run one out in Kentucky, and we'll talk about that hunt a little bit later. But like I said, when I go back to Kentucky here in a couple weeks, I'm deciding to just run my standard nocks, being that I'm not sighted in to that halo nock. But that's going to be it for this video. I do want to wish everyone the best of luck in the 2023 season. I hope everyone stays safe. Make sure that you're wearing your harness. Make sure you shoot straight. If there's anything else that you guys want to know about my hunting setups, make sure you guys leave me a comment below or reach out to me directly on Instagram. I'm always happy to help. If you guys have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Your guys' support greatly helps us out, keeps us doing what we're doing. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you on the next one.